Alright guys, this is XP Scaling, and today we will be covering post-maximum tournament arc Hanayama. Just want to apologize real quick, I've had a pretty busy schedule, so, with that out the way, honestly, we will be covering, how much stronger he has gone over his 4-year time skip in the Baki series. So, right off rip, Baki states he's at least taller than what he was previously, so to give you guys like a gross estimate on his physique, or at least in terms of height, he should at least be 6'5", though based off of the Baki manga art style he could potentially be like 6'11", though they change heights and stuff to make things look more dramatic. So he should, I'd say bare minimum, at least be 6'5" as a fighter. And something that has honestly helped him grow and becoming much stronger and a more well-rounded brawler would be more so the kind of mentality he has. As you see in these panels, he states, "This is a war. This tournament is a war of will between me, the pure brawler, against you, the ones that rely on martial arts to overcome your weakness." And what also further helped him refine himself as a street-tiered brawler, or at least, a street brawler, right, would be more so the kind of unspoken rules that happen when you have street fights, as there's not really many rules, so it's like a all say whatever can go kind of scenario, right? As you see here, they state he refined his brawling skills using street rules. How well will they oh my goodness, sorry guys. How will they fare against formal martial arts? And more so, another statement that's given here: we brawlers are ready to fight, always. Come get me anytime, even when I'm sleeping, sick, or with a woman in bed. Throw me your best shot and I won't even flinch or block it. Ambush me, shoot me, come by yourself, or with 100, you will be always welcome. So getting that out the way with his kind of mentality and how he views fights, which it should honestly help him. Or more so, this is like a stable point for his character. His first matchup in the Maximum Tournament arc is a guy who practices Japanese Kenpo. And please note, if we say Hanayama has gotten at least 4 times stronger in this 4-year time skip, seeing as he had first seen Baki fight his father Yujiro the first time, it's more than likely he tried to get, I'd say, at least 4 times stronger based off of that. So going off of that, and off of what I managed to calculate in my first video for him, you could say at least in terms of striking strength, he's at least capable of outputting at least, 26,000 pounds of force, or at least 13 tons, putting him firmly in the city block range to at least multi-city block range, right? And then if you want to say for his durability, you could also say, he's easily equal to that in terms of durability, and he should easily be capable of taking these kinds of blows. Though please note, this should be assuming that he's only bare minimum as strong as the Yasha Ape, as when Hanayama fought Baki blatantly stated in one punch he was stronger than the Yasha Ape. So getting that out the way, him being at least 4 times stronger, we've gotten to see that this guy who he's gonna fight, try to be disrespectful, said, Hanayama, I'm pretty dangerous, you might want to put on some gear. Hanayama, being the kind of guy he is, respectfully declined and said, yo bro, as a Kenpo user, you should use a sword, because that's the only way you're gonna be equal to me, bro. The guy, not being as grateful with the sword, decided to break it. And please note, this guy's fighting style is essentially made up of every combat sport that has been used in Japan and has been refined for at least 60 years. Yet, it should also be noted that this guy with said martial art was actually able to clobber Hanayama, at least at first, until he got completely countered by Hanayama. And despite actually blocking Hanayama's uppercut, had his leg completely broken from the amount of force that was in the blow. And once Hanayama gave him another mean uppercut, broke not just both of his arms, but even managed to honestly break his spine. And the guy, still having the will to fight, tried to actually grapple Hanayama, but let's be honest, that's what his spine looked like. He wasn't gonna last much longer. And Hanayama, still being the kind of respectful guy that he is, actually decided to bless his opponent, I guess in the Yakuza kind of way. And real quick, we also get to see how well he has developed himself, at least in the kinds of fights he's had over the 4-year time skip. Considering we see he's now has a lot more bullet holes, and just look at his back, considering how many scars he has. And he's even stated by a practitioner that if he were to ever use martial arts, he would quite honestly redefine the history of martial arts. Now, also shows blatantly how much stronger he has gotten as he honestly ragdolled a much stronger Baki. And if anybody hasn't seen my Baki video, I'll leave a link in the description for that. And was also still had the resolve and the will to fight Orochi Doppo's successor Katsumi, despite being stated he would actually lose to him. As you can see just how serious he was after Baki told him, yeah, nah, you won't win, bro. Yet despite this, was still looking for smoke and took a direct punch from Katsumi, and was more than happy to continue the fight right then and there, though they got interrupted. And honestly, when that official match began, was completely unfazed by Katsumi actually performing a whole bunch of katas and sets on wet paper without it tearing. So, the guy Hanayama proceeded to flip kick him in the beginning of the match and proceeded to overwhelm Katsumi with his blows despite him actually putting up a noticeable defense, and completely ragdolled him and was still able to counter and even overwhelm his karate, right? Now please note, this should be extremely impressive considering the fact that Katsumi is the successor of Doppo, and overall should be easily as skilled, arguably more skilled than him, and should be physically equal to him. But I'm gonna state it's more than likely he should be above him, seeing as he's still in his prime. However, despite that, proceeded to get completely mauled to the point where he had to shoulder throw Hanayama in order to make some distance between the two of them. Katsumi even had to use essentially a sci-fi movie-like technique in order to try to get the upper hand on Hanayama. As we see here, essentially the technique uses the opponent's body as footstools and steps in order to get a better angle and essentially drop the guy. Yet despite that, still got up and was able to have almost a slugfest with Katsumi, though due to him being, noticeably slower, none of his blows were able to land, though this should be very impressive as he's essentially taking multiple blows from someone who's equal to Orochi Doppo. And despite taking a mean hit to his median line right here, was able to grab and pop the leg of Katsumi. And afterwards, actually forced Katsumi to get serious. Yet despite that, was completely able to ragdoll him, proving that he's still physically superior to someone who should be equal to Orochi Doppo, despite him not holding back. And again, it's even noted that in this fight, without using techniques or a fighting style whatsoever, pushed someone who should be the successor of karate to the brink of defeat with nothing but his overwhelming strength. And again, proceeded to wally mop him without much difficulty, to the point where he actually had to use a technique which he stated was intended for Yujiro Hanma, right? And even when he used said technique in order to win the match, sadly, he had to use it 3 times on Hanayama. Now, please note, I will be covering Katsumi sometime later down the line. Probably I'll make that video tomorrow. As despite giving Hanayama a first taste of the technique, still had the will to fight, forcing him to use the technique again. And after receiving the technique a second time, he decided to put all his faith in his back and surprisingly survived. And sadly, afterwards, when he lost, it took Baki essentially hitting him multiple times in order to wake him up from this kind of, defeat. So to give you guys a quick recap, first of all, if you just want to say lowball Hanayama, you could bare minimum say he's at least 4 times stronger than what he was when he had first fought Baki. Meaning overall his maximum output could probably be in the 13 to 14 ton ranges of AP, or city block, multi-city block level. But he should blatantly be well above that, since he fought someone who is essentially like Orochidopo. And if anybody hasn't seen my Orochidopo video, I'll leave a link in the description. In this case being essentially Katsumi, and considering that both karate practitioners should be equal to each other, at least skill and physicality, yet despite that was physically dominated by Hanayama in terms of raw strength alone. This should be extremely impressive, considering if anybody's seen, my Hanayama or Dopo video, links in the description. Dopo in his fight with Yujiro was able to withstand and honestly able to dish out blows back to Yujiro Hanma, who I actually managed to count him being at least in the 7.5 kiloton range, or at least half the power of the Hiroshima bomb, or at least in terms of AP small town level of ranges, right? Katsumi, being someone who should be equal to Dopo, if not slightly above him, got completely dominated by Hanayama in terms of physical strength. So that should be his strength into AP. Now, as for his speed, we could say he's relative to Katsumi, though very clearly slower. Though that should easily put someone like Hanayama now, at least in the bullet range, or bullet level, Mach 2.5, or at least in the hypersonic ranges of speed in combat, or at least Mach 2.5, and I'd say he could probably max out at Mach 6, as this would also go for his combat and reactionary. And finally, as for his durability, it should easily scale to his maximum AP, and seeing that he's honestly known for taking much more abuse than he's dishing it out, his durability should honestly be above his AP. And honestly, that should be it for Hanayama. My next video will be covering the opponent that he fought in this video, Orochi Katsumi, and I hope you guys look forward to that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Dislike, unsubscribe, leave a hate comment, or just tell me what I'm doing, or who'd you like to see skilled later down on the line. Have a good one.